it's Ashley Hawk. I'm here to talk about our last two chapters. Well, not last two, technically, 14 and 15. And those were heavy on the state standards and assessments, which, not the most enthralling topics to talk about, but there was some very interesting points that I would like to, discuss a little bit. They used terms for assessments. So it was like assessment for learning and assessment of learning. And I thought that was interesting vocabulary in chapter 4. What I find assessments to be helpful for isn't just to keep track of, what your kids are doing. Sorry, my ice maker is making ice. So I live in a noisy house, so excuse any noises you hear, but back on track. So I found it helpful as a teacher to know that what you're teaching is reaching your children. It's not just the students. It's not all on the students like, ooh, what are they learning? It's also to help teachers to, get better at teaching. And I also liked how it talked about different styles of teaching in terms of we teach for memorization. Some of those tests that you get, like any assessments that you give, you're just teaching for memorization. And I don't necessarily believe in that coming from, I struggle with memorization at times. I'm one of those, I have to apply it and then it sticks. And that takes me into, we need to measure what they can do, not just what they know. What can they do with that knowledge that you're teaching? Can they use it? Can they apply it? That very hands-on approach, I like that better than memorization, because you can memorize and then it's just a brain dump. It's all gone. So I think it's more effective when we do performance assessment where we're measuring what can they do with their information. And then I found this quote from chapter 14 that I really liked. It says, we need to teach so they can frame problems, formulate and carry out plans, generate hypotheses, find information that is relevant to the solution to a problem. That really just stood out to me. And so let's dive into chapter 15. And that was basically your state standards. There's problems with validity of tests. So I grew up in the paper and pencil testing. And there was always the joke, you just fill in, you make designs. And that's back to the validity. Are some of these kids even putting in the effort? I don't, we do kind of know now because a lot of our tests are online and you can actually see how fast they go through. And as a teacher, you can walk over to them and say, hey, I just noticed that you moved through these, 1 through 10 in less than 30 seconds. You're probably not doing your best. So we do have some tools now. I did find a lot of it was heavy on kind of blaming teachers for some of these standards. So we're now teaching for the state standards. And I struggle with that because teachers spend so much time getting these kids ready for testing. And it's back to, the whole funding. That's their repercussions for not doing well. They remove some funding. And I just find that not great. Do we want our kids to rise above? Do we want them to test well? Yes, but I do think there is this gray area that isn't favorable, and putting all the blame on the teachers is, that's a tough one. Teaching only to test, and then using the punishment if the students don't grow. Those were some big takeaways from chapter 15. And, just as a whole, this class, I have really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot of new information, but I also like that we circle back on some of the old information that we were taught in our last education class. So I really think the psychology part of it was fascinating. And I just really liked the semester and getting to know you guys. We've been a small but mighty group, and it's been very pleasurable. And I hope we are in classes again together. But yeah, so happy final week. And I hope you all do well and have a great summer. Okay, bye.